Welcome to Brandefined, the path to a better brand. Today, we're going to discuss brands, branding, and what tools it takes to take your brand to the next level. We will uncover how to shape a brand in order to be more compelling and resonate with the target audience in a way that pays exponential dividends. We will discuss what a brand is, as well as what a brand is not. We'll discuss what branding is and why it matters. We'll talk about how to position your brand effectively in order to resonate with your target audience. And we will help you give your brand a clear purpose. We'll help you define specifically who your organization is, what it does, and why that's special and unique. We'll lay out a plan for future decision making. We'll help you establish a culture for your team. We will help you connect with your audience and gain loyal, long-term fans. First, I'd like to discuss the definitions. In this presentation, we'll be talking about terms such as brand, and we'll be talking about audience, and patrons and advocates. In many cases, when we use the term brand, we'll be talking about what most people would call a company. When we're talking about audience, we're talking about potential customers. When we're talking about patrons, we're talking about customers or possibly viewers, donors, beneficiaries, depends on the type of organization. And advocates are fans. We'll go back to patrons. In the case of a TV show, a patron is going to be a viewer, a regular viewer. In the case of a nonprofit organization, it might be a donor. It could also be a recipient of benefits. In most cases, we're talking about commerce, and that means the brand is the company. The audience is a potential customer, patrons are customers, and advocates are fans of the brand and regular customers. So what is a brand? Well, in order to describe what a brand is, we're going to share a few examples about what a brand is not. When we say what a brand is not, we mean what a brand is just not, or not just. We'll start with the logo. When we talk about a brand, oftentimes people will think of brand names and they'll think of logos. And when we talk about branding, most people will think about the process of logo design or applying that logo across all media. In the case of Target, you can visualize what the Target logo looks like. A red concentric circle on top of a white concentric circle on top of a red concentric circle. Simple. A 5-year-old can recognize the Target logo. A 3-year-old can recognize the Target logo. It looks like a Target. They don't need to know the brand name. They know the brand name just by looking at it. It's recognizable, it's pervasive, but it's not the entire brand. It's a big piece of the brand. It's a recognizable piece of the brand. But there are many things that go into the brand of Target. We'll especially talk about that later when we review a case study comparing Target's brand message and Walmart's brand message and how they position against each other. We'll look at Nike. Now, the Nike logo is recognized in every corner of the world. The Nike swoosh was famously designed for $250. But it wasn't just the logo that made Nike what it was and what it is today. Excellent products, fantastic marketing, wonderful branding has built Nike as you know it today. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, LeBron James have built what Nike is today. Billions and billions of dollars of marketing has built what Nike is today as a brand. So the Nike swoosh is a cornerstone of the brand, and it is iconic, and it is worthy, but it is not the entire brand itself. Same thing with Apple. The Apple logo is simple. The Apple brand name is simple. It passes the 3-year-old test. A 3-year-old can look at the Apple logo and say, Apple. That's an apple. Billions and billions of dollars have been spent on marketing that apple. Excellent products being delivered year after year after year, and wonderful advertising and branding campaigns have all built Apple into the brand that it is, and it is much bigger than the icon of the apple. The icon is the cornerstone, but it is not the entire brand. A brand is not just a company. I'll take a look at a few legacy brands, GE and Ford Motor Company. GE has built many things over its tenure. It has lasted generations. GE makes light bulbs. GE makes microwaves. GE makes train engines, among many other products and services. GE serves many different people, private sector, public sector, retail consumer, business to business. They serve many different people with many different products. And the brand is much bigger than the company itself. And as you'll see in a few more examples later on, the brand is much bigger than the products and services themselves. Talk about Ford, another legacy brand that has existed for several generations. Ford builds the F-150, one of the most popular trucks in America, if not the most popular. They also build the Ford Mustang, along with the Ford GT. The GT is a street legal race car. It is a luxury item that appeals to a much different market than the F-150. It involves meticulous design, specific materials, and an extremely high price point. The same brand, the same company, building completely different products to completely different people and meaning different things to those people. A brand is not just an organization. We tend to think of brands as companies. But brands can also be organizations, or part of an organization can be part of a brand. Put it that way. If you look at the American Red Cross, the brand can represent relief. The brand can represent a feel-good donation. If you look at FEMA, FEMA can mean different things to different people based on their experiences. FEMA could be relief when you most need it to the person who receives aid. FEMA can be a punchline A brand is not just an individual. And individuals can be part of a brand, but the brand is always bigger than the individual. Dos Equis famously created one of the most successful ad campaigns of recent history with the most interesting man in the world. Brand recognition for Dos Equis before this campaign was nearly immeasurable and is now pervasive. The campaign is finished now, but the most interesting man in the world will forever be linked with the brand Dos Equis. However, Dos Equis, the beer, the product, the individual, are all pieces of the brand, but they are not the brand themselves. We can reference Tiger Woods in this case. At one time, Tiger Woods was a representative of both Nike and Buick at the same time. Following one of the most epic falls from grace in an athlete that we've seen, they both dropped their sponsorship. And even though the image of Tiger Woods still brings about connection to Nike and Buick, the brands, both Nike and Buick as a brand are much bigger than one individual, Tiger Woods. If we look at Elon Musk, two of his most famous brands, SpaceX and Tesla, are almost synonymous with his name and face. He's achieved this through positive PR and building good products and services. But Tesla as a brand is much bigger than Elon himself, as is SpaceX. A brand is not just a product or service. We'll look at how some other legacy brands that grew immensely during the 1900s have had to evolve their products and services over the years to what they are today, which is almost not even recognizable from how they started. The first is AT&T. Through several generations, they've evolved from phone service into internet, cable, cellular, and even selling hardware. H&R Block used to be a full-service bookkeeping agency that, upon suggestion from an advertising vendor, went into the tax preparation business and have now evolved into one of the biggest tax prep brands in the world, if not the biggest, at least in the US. And now they're having to face new evolution against competitors such as TurboTax. And of course, IBM, from producing personal computers, hardware, to global enterprise level software as they are today. A brand is much bigger, than a website or an app. Take, for instance, Google. Google's search engine changed the face of how we live our lives in the 21st century. But Google is much bigger than that one product. To some people, YouTube is almost bigger than Google. To others, Google Docs is a savior. And as you can see in Google's ad campaigns, Androids and Hey Google are also making a splash in people's lives. Amazon is much bigger than a website or a phone app. Think about the feeling that you get when there's an Amazon box on your porch, or when you're able to send a gift-wrapped product in the mail to a loved one. Facebook is much bigger than a website or an app. Facebook connects people that wouldn't otherwise be connected. And when Facebook Messenger dings, we get social proof of acceptance. This is much bigger than the technology driving it. It's the feeling you get when you're on Facebook. Because a brand really is just a feeling. It's a perception. It's the feeling a person gets when they come in contact with the brand, be it word of mouth or an ad, walking into a store, using an app on your phone. Let's take, for instance, Disney. If Disney is the brand, then the name Disney and the castle together is the logo. Mickey Mouse is the spokesman. It used to be Walt Disney, but they've grown out of that. Every child is the audience. Disney fans are the patrons. Those are the customers. When you think about brand ambassadors, every single movie character is a brand ambassador for the Disney brand, as well as what Disney calls cast members, their employees. There's a reason why they call them cast members, because they know that they are brand ambassadors. And everybody who knows the brand Disney has a feeling when they hear the name Disney. For some people, it can bring back memories of a fun day at a theme park as a child. For others, who are parents of children, it can make you feel tired because you just got back from the theme park with your child. If you're sitting down to watch a Disney movie, it can make you feel excited to see the logo and the castle and the brand. Excited in anticipation of another fun and engaging story. Again, as a parent, when you see that castle, it can make you feel defeated as you're about to watch Frozen yet again. For some people, Disney brings about all of these feelings. Everybody has a different impression when they hear the name Disney. A different exercise is to think of the United States of America as a brand, because it is. And if that's the case, then the logo is the flag. The president is the spokesman. The audience is the entire world. Anyone who's ever heard the name, the United States of America. Every U.S. citizen is a patron. And every politician, every soldier, every celebrity, every world traveler is a brand ambassador. Anybody with a voice is a brand ambassador for the USA. And everybody who knows the United States of America has a feeling when they see the flag. It can represent freedom. It can be a symbol of pain or oppression or loss of a loved one. It can be a sign of opportunity and hope for a would-be citizen. To our enemies, the flag is negative. To migrants, the flag is positive. And every single one of these thoughts and feelings are shaped by experience. Every time a person interacts with the brand, which is called a touch point, the brand perception is shaped, or it's set in stone. Let's talk about some common brand touch points. The most common is what people see. They see a logo or advertising. When they walk into a store, they see the sign and the store interior. They see employee uniforms. They're either washed or clean, wrinkled or flat, tucked in or untucked. Either by design or accident, it still leaves an impression. They see news coverage. Positive, like Tom's, or negative, like Enron. They could see vehicles driving around town, such as UPS. We call them driving billboards. Another brand touchpoint is what people hear. One of the most impactful ways to impress a brand upon a person is how a customer service phone call is handled. Chick-fil-A has done really well with their sign-off of "My pleasure" at the end of an order. When people walk into a store, what do they hear? Soft music or loud noises? Radio jingles are still used and popular. And of course, one of the more compelling ways that hearing impresses a brand upon a person is word of mouth. And with the advent of social media, peer reviews, such as Yelp. Another experience is what people feel. That can be clothing, the way clothing feels on your body. It could be how fast Tylenol takes to kick in when you have a headache. It could lead to the choice between Folgers and 5-Hour Energy. Or whether you tell a friend that you've joined Weight Watchers. Another compelling brand touchpoint is smell. In the food service world, Starbucks and Cinnabon probably have the most compelling and recognizable smells. On the road, for truck stops, restroom cleanliness is one of the biggest features, which might lead someone to choose between TA, Pilot, and Loves based on word of mouth or their past experiences. Products in the store can also influence smell and impress upon somebody a positive or negative brand experience. Think about Bath and Body Works, which might be so strong that it's repulsive instead of compelling. Or Yankee Candle, or the smell of leather in Cavender's Boot City. And then there's taste. Food brands such as Panera and Stouffer's and Dole all have to be concerned about the quality of their product, because that is how people are going to judge the brand, and that is how they're going to remember and view the brand in the light of. Let's look at a few comparisons. First one is Walmart and Target. The first difference that you notice between the two is a logo and a color scheme. If you're in the parking lot of either, you see the logo on the side of the giant tilt-up concrete walls. Walmart is blue, Target is red. They both have an icon, but the Walmart sunburst is integrated, while the Target stands alone. If you think about the experience and the difference in the experience from walking into a Walmart versus walking into a Target, you get two very different feelings. When you walk into Walmart, it's concrete, it's loud, the shopping cart might have a wobbly wheel or two. When you step inside, the lighting is harsh, which makes you assume that it's efficient. You might hear screaming children, music over speakers that don't work very well. But we all know why you're there. You're there to save money. You're there because whatever you're going to buy, nobody can sell it cheaper than Walmart. And so you excuse the discomfort in order to save some money. Walmart's promise is to save money and live better. Live better is the end goal. And the path to that end goal is saving money. By helping you save money, they're helping you live better. And they deliver on that promise by always being the cheapest. You can see it in the ad campaigns, rolling back the prices. You can see it in the employee uniforms, the degrading blue vests. They're transparent about their efforts. They pay as few workers as possible, as little as possible, just enough to get by and get you checked out of the store. You're not going to find a lot of help at Walmart, but you'll find the best prices. Now, think about the contrasting experience of walking into a Target. At first step, you're on carpet. It's a different smell. It doesn't smell like floor cleaner or a mop. You step in and grab a shopping cart that's red, that's well designed, it's sturdy, and it's not loud, doesn't have the wobbly wheels. You hear quality music over better speakers. Instead of seeing bare metal shelves as far as the eye can see, you're typically greeted with graphics displaying happy people doing happy things because you're in Target. You know that you're not going to get the cheapest price because Target's promise is to expect more but pay less. So everything that they do, from their ad campaign to the shopping carts to the employee training, is to help you expect more and then be surprised when you check out. The employees don't have to wear the blue vest. They get to wear their own clothes and be comfortable as long as the colors are close enough. Comfortable employees are happier. They're paid a little better. They're treated well. This comes through when you need their help. You expect more from Target. Look at the difference between Apple as a brand and Microsoft as a brand. Microsoft has always had market share over Apple. Apple's products have always lasted longer than Microsoft's, but they're more expensive. Right from the logo, you can see that they're each positioning themselves differently from the other. Microsoft is an everyday brand. Apple is high art. It's a premium brand. Apple often uses black and white color scheme in its packaging and advertising, as well as the in-store experience. Whereas Microsoft, as far back as we can remember, uses lots of colors. Microsoft has always touted the ability to customize, whereas Apple would prefer to limit customization and have something that works specifically well right out of the box. And what we expect as consumers, because of all this, is that Apple's price point is going to be much higher on their products. But many people are more than willing to pay. Then we'll look at Coke versus Pepsi. First thing you notice, not unlike Walmart and Target, is the color scheme. One is red, one is blue. Pepsi has red, but they don't claim red. Coke claims red. The next thing you notice is the product packaging itself. Coca-Cola, even changing over the years and adding in new products, still has a classic look. A script that is relatively unchanged since the 1920s, versus Pepsi, which radically changes as often as possible. And here's the difference in the promise. Coca-Cola says, taste the feeling. That's a product first mantra. Pepsi says, love it and live it. That is a lifestyle first mantra. Pepsi's appeal has always been that it's cool, and it's new, and then it's fresh. And Coke has always been classic and timeless and unchanging. So what is branding? We've learned what a brand is and what a brand is not. Branding is the process of intentionally shaping the perception of the brand. Branding results in making a promise about who you are, what you do, what you're about, what you're like, and why you're unique. Brand perception is maintained through the branding process by delivering on the promise that you make, which means delivering consistently. This is the most effective way to reinforce your brand promise, especially in the information age. These days, authenticity is paramount. With social media, information travels too quickly to not deliver on a promise. Overpromising can become a house of cards very quickly. Why is branding important? The primary reason branding is important is because it has long-term benefits. Branding is not a fast game, it's the long game. Branding, when done well, builds trust. When people feel like they know a brand and they have a relationship with it, they trust it to deliver on its promise. They rely on it to pull through time and time again. Branding has the benefit of gaining loyalty. When people adhere to a brand, the bond strengthens with each positive interaction, as well as social affirmation. Another benefit is that your company or your organization can gain purpose. When there is a defined purpose, it leads to a lasting, meaningful relationship, not only with the public, but with leadership, staff, and members. One of the most notable brands built on purpose is Zappos. Zappos has done an excellent job of internal branding and helping employees believe in a greater purpose than just shoes. And that comes through in their world-class customer service. Branding helps you grow relationships. When people connect with the brand's message and purpose, they believe in it, and you grow together. branding life cycle is to create a compelling message that's going to resonate with your target audience. Motivate your team and indoctrinate them with the message so that they can shine that through to your audience, because they are on the front lines of that relationship. Culture always shines through the team in the long run, be it good or bad. So an important step that's often missed in the branding process is to make sure that your team believes in the promise and can relay that promise to your audience. The third step is to resonate with your audience. This is done through many different activities, including advertising and marketing. Remember, the brands are much bigger than just companies. It could be organizations, it could be individuals. And that your audience may not just be potential customers. It's anyone within reach of your brand. The next step is to deliver on your promise. And when you do this, when you make a promise and deliver on it, you turn your audience into brand advocates who then fly your flag for you. And if all of this is done well, then you enjoy long-term organic growth driven by your advocates. Which brings us to Brandefined. Brandefined is our process for defining the nature and the character of the brand, as well as the brand's audience segments and the brand's relationship with each audience, which could be the same, could be different depending on each audience, as well as defining the most compelling value propositions for each audience. What we're doing is we're mapping the DNA of the brand, the who, the what, and the why. Why is the brand-defined process important? The first reason is to build a relationship with your audience. That's the first step in branding. You want to be remarkable. You want to be memorable. And you want to be compelling. One example of being memorable, but not necessarily being remarkable, is IHOP's silly product called the Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity. It sticks in people's heads, but it's not necessarily compelling. You can be compelling, but not necessarily memorable, by offering sales and discounts. Those will compel people in the short run, but they're not long-lasting or memorable in the long run. In order to build a relationship with your audience, you have to resonate with them. You have to understand them. You have to be purposeful in connecting with them. And then you will earn advocates. Another often utilized benefit of Brandefined is to drive all brand touchpoint decisions This can begin with the business model and define whether a business model needs to be reworked if it doesn't match the brand's DNA. This can involve marketing decisions. It can even involve operations, customer service. It can influence employees. It can determine in hiring whether somebody is a good fit or not for the company because your DNA is clearly mapped out. It could be a big part of the onboarding process and impressing the culture of the brand upon your new hires. And it can be part of ongoing training, reinforcing the brand's characters and the mantras, and giving your team the tools to be able to communicate correctly with the audience. For new brands, you get to design your brand's DNA from scratch. It's a great opportunity to create a clear doctrine for your team to buy into and to preach to patrons, and depending on how early it is in the process, possibly even to investors. For established brands, you can define your brand's DNA or redefine your brand's DNA. Determine who you are now. Do a SWOT analysis with your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Envision where you want to be and determine what it's going to take to grow to the next level. In redefining your brand's DNA, possibly this could be triggered by new ownership or management, or a changing commercial landscape, or perhaps a new business model, or product integration, or perhaps you just need new direction for your culture. And finally, the big payoff, Brandefined, when executed well and implemented properly in all these different areas of a business or organization, you drive long-term profitability. So let's talk about the process. The first part of the process is your brand identity. Oftentimes, this is already determined. It includes your vision statement, mission statement, value system, and a brand statement. The vision statement describes the future position of the brand. It casts the vision for the team. Most of these are internal items, with the exception of the brand statement. The mission statement defines the objectives of the brand. The values are the non-negotiable pillars of character upon which the brand is standing. And the brand statement is the elevator pitch. Here are some examples of well-crafted mission and vision statements. I'll start with Apple. In the last several years, they've rewritten their vision. But for the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to refer to Steve Jobs' mission statement for Apple, which is to make a contribution to the world by making tools for the mind that advance humankind. You don't hear anything about an iPod or an iPad or an iMac or even hardware or software. I'm going to repeat that mission because it's strong and it's compelling and it's rich. Apple's mission is to make a contribution to the world by making tools for the mind that advance humankind. That is a compelling mission. That is the wind in the sails of Apple, which is why their famous ad campaign had the headline, "Think Different." You can see how Think Different grew from that mission. We'll look at Zappos. The vision of Zappos is delivering happiness to customers, employees, and vendors. That's simple. It's achievable. It's worthy. Their mission, in order to achieve the vision, is provide the best customer service possible. Deliver wow through service. You don't hear anything about shoes in these statements. That's because for Zappos, shoes are just a medium to providing the best customer service possible, and in doing that, delivering happiness. Charles Schwab, their mission statement is to empower individual investors to take control of their financial lives, free from the high costs and conflicts of traditional brokerage firms. The Charles Schwab brand statement is helping investors help themselves. Another good example is Disney. Disney's vision, similar to Zappos, is to make people happy. And their mission to help them achieve that vision is to be one of the world's leading producers and providers of entertainment and information. They get a little more specific into products. They're going to use entertainment and information as a vehicle to making people happy. IKEA's vision is to create a better everyday life for many people. And their mission to help them achieve that vision is to offer a wide range of well-designed, functional home furnishing products at prices so low that as many people as possible will be able to afford them. Many people is at the core of their mission and vision. Tesla's vision is to create the most compelling car company of the 21st century by driving the world's transition to electric vehicles. Their mission is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Next, we define the brand personality, which is simply a word picture that ideally features every facet of the brand's character. We're trying to paint the picture of what the character of the brand is through adjectives and nouns. Then we define the target audience. This includes demographics and psychographics for each audience segment. The demographics are going to be age, gender, location, and so forth. The psychographics help us understand who the person is, what they like, and be able to discern why. We define how they consume their news and information and entertainment, how they spend their time, what products they own, and what brands they're affiliated with. And then for each target audience, we define a brand story and a value proposition. The brand story puts the audience member and the brand into the format of a story in which the audience member is the hero. The brand is the guide. The guide has a plan. And the villain is the problem that the audience member has that the guide can help them overcome. Through this process of putting the audience member into a story, we gain mental insight. We get to position the guide, and then we define a call or several calls to action. The value proposition, which we'll also call the external message rather than the internal message of the brand story, again helps us gain insight into the problems and solutions at hand, the problems that the audience member can be facing, and the solution that the brand can offer as the hero. And this is where we develop traditional advertising features and benefits. Generally, we prefer benefit-first marketing because it connects well and resonates well with most audiences. And this is where we develop the marketing brand promise. This is the promise that must be delivered upon.